Lee.
Hello, my Share. How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I am so good, and I'm just so proud of you. You're doing so well.
Thank you, thank you. I've been waiting for so long to have you on this. You are the queen of the morning show, and next month is 16 years of being on Morning Live. Can you believe it?
No, I actually can't. I mean, 16 years is a very, very long time, and it kind of just it blows your mind every single time you think about it. But I don't know. I think it's also like a kind of testimony to my character. Like I just become attached to things, and I sort of I enjoy being in places, and I like mastering something and then walking away from it. So clearly I haven't mastered this yet. So maybe I've still got, I got a lot more to do. But I mean, 16 years, it's crazy. I mean, now that you've said that, I actually forgot about that, to be honest with you.
I mean, I think there's probably quite a lot of pressure involved in that, being the face that everyone wakes up to in the morning. Pressure and privilege.
Yeah.
Tell me about those two sides of it.
This has been a very difficult time working through this whole pandemic, because you're never allowed to switch off. You're never allowed to show your own emotions. You're never allowed to show that you're also a human being going through a lot. You've got to wake up. You've got to be happy. You've got to have a smile. You've got to put your problems behind you. And the minute you walk into that studio and you sit in front of that camera, nothing that's going on in your life, your fears, your anxieties, your pressures, they must disappear, and it becomes about the viewer. But the joy and the privilege comes in, and the acceptance and the allowance of South Africans to have let me do what I've done for this long, because I never believed in my wildest dreams that this is what I would be doing for this long. And especially not the morning part of things, because I am not a morning person. I hate the mornings. And I think everybody, well, not everybody knows that, because it doesn't show. But as if you know me, I don't like the morning. So I never believed this of myself. But I think it's just because I have been given this great opportunity. And, I don't know. If I had to relive it all over again, I'd choose it, because it's amazing. It's been incredible for me.
Do you think that it's been particularly hard for you, being at the front line of the news, to separate yourself and your own anxiety, I guess, coming home to a family from, I guess for us, we can switch off the news, and you can't. Yeah. You are faced with every single day and with all of it and the harsh realities of it. Has that been a difficult thing for you to separate from?
100%. I mean, it's impossible to separate yourself from it, because you're constantly, if there's a beep on your phone, it's another message. It's another, you're constantly watching the infection rate, the death toll, the announcements that are coming through. You're watching the press briefings. You're hearing what the experts are saying, the ministers are saying. So it affects your life. In terms of my kids, sending my kids back to school was one of the hardest decisions we've ever had to make. I have not sent my kids back to school. They're still doing online learning, purely because I have the privilege of having that option for my children. But it is something that I'm information overload. So you want to almost eliminate something from you and say, okay, well, I don't want to have that worrying me as well on the top of it. And while I have another option and I am home to be with them, let me help them that way. And so, has been a very big effect. And thank goodness for them. Thank goodness for those little rascals, because they are the ones that lighten the load, because they're the ones that you come home to with big smiles and happy, joyous faces that, they are just going on with life like they always do. And I'm so grateful for that. It's amazing. Adulting is not for sissies. Really, it isn't. I mean, I wish they'd warned us. I wish they'd warned us about this.
It wasn't in the manual. That's
No, it wasn't. The manual only goes up to the day of birth. So that's the manual. The manual is your whole pregnancy and every feeling you feel up until the moment that you're in the hospital, and then the baby comes out and the manual goes and you're on your own. It's like, seriously? You did that? You took it away? So yeah, that's where we are.
Lee, one of the things I love the most about you is that whether you are interviewing these incredible guests that you've spoken to, Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey, and the list really goes on, or you're speaking to me, someone you've known your whole life, you are exactly the same. And I think that sincerity is such a unique feature that you have. What have been the times that have tested that a bit in terms of intimidating guests? Have there been guests that have really shook you during or before interviewing them?
Yeah, it does. I mean, because that is the hardest part. It is interviewing these guys that are, you know, you look up to them, they're your heroes, and they are people that you've admired, and 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 you live life believing that people are greater than you. You do, because they are put on a pedestal, and you think that they're just so amazing that they can't possibly be just like you. And it was very, 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 very early in my career where you mentioned it. I mean, I managed to chat to Oprah and have this interview with her. And I'll never forget telling her after that interview, I said, you don't know what it means, what you've done for me, just to be talking to you. I want to be just like you, and this is just the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me. And she's like, she stopped me there and then, and this was not on air, this was off air, and she said to me, what is wrong with you? Why would you say that? Because why would you want to be like me? There is me. You need to be you. You need to be somebody completely unique and different. And I am just another person who is out there doing what I can.
What was the process involved with the appointment as the UN Goodwill Ambassador? Did they approach you and say, is this something you'll undertake? And how long do you undertake that for? Is that a lifelong commitment that you take on?
So I think what happened is they had highlighted a couple of people in Africa that they thought, well, obviously I was part of the South African grouping, and they created something called the Luku Luku tribe, which was, they appointed people from different countries, different backgrounds, different people, different voices. And it is listening to the plight and being a part of the UNHCR and highlighting the voice of particularly Africa. Because whenever you hear about refugees, you hear more about, your refugees going into Europe and the ones that are from the Middle East, as opposed to what's happening here in Africa. Whereas nobody can explain what's going on in Africa except for an African when you see it for yourself. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to change the narrative of the refugee in Africa and appoint some people that could do it here on the continent. So I was highlighted as one of them. And I was like, wow, that would be amazing. I'd love to embark on something like that. And then I started doing a lot of work with them, going to some of the refugee camps in Kenya, in Malawi. I even went on a trip to Lebanon, and I went to the border of Syria and Lebanon, went into the refugee camp then. They look into your background, they look at who you are and where you come from and what you stand for, because, that also plays part and parcel. And I was very, very honored to have that title bestowed on me. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose it is a lifelong thing. It's something that you'll never, ever, it's something you do from the goodness of your heart. That's really all it is.
Growing up, we grew up in a family that really supported, celebrated, and raised us up. And I often think back to those, Sunday lunches where one of us would be performing, one of the kids around would be performing a poem, a monologue, I don't even know, a video we just made up in the back room. And to the applause of everyone and cheers, as if we had literally just choreographed, performed Cats in front of them.
Yes, nicely put.
And I tell people that because I think, and I'm convinced, that has been intrinsic in instilling confidence in success and a drive and real self-worth. And I wonder if you also think that part of your journey and your confidence that you have to put yourself out there every day in all these different spheres, because it's not just on TV, it's to corporates, it's to the average person on the street, and that adaptability. Do you think that that's played a role in that for you?
Absolutely, man. There is no, getting back to that. I mean, those days, you're bringing memories back to me, which is amazing. And it is just, it was fantastic times. We would, as a family, we were so close, and we are so close. And that was the backbone of our lives, because I think it was that support, and it was definitely that confidence that we no matter what we did, we were the greatest. No matter what we said, we had that applause. We'd say a poem and everyone would be like, wow, that was amazing. Each time it was probably pathetic, but it doesn't matter. It was that we had the support and the backing of people behind us. And that's the problem, I think, that so many people don't have that. And the fact that we've got this and had that, gave us that boost where it was like, man, you know what? I'm okay. Everything's okay. And it was good times. And we were really, really lucky to have a youth like we did. And I mean, I don't know if people know exactly how close we are. I mean, I don't think we've got there yet. I'm glad we haven't got there because this girl knows far too much about me. I might have everything taken away from me if you start spilling tea.
Never. In fact, I texted you the other day about I'll leave that for another time.
Yes, good idea. Okay. But it's the truth. I mean, it's amazing. It is amazing. Really is.
So on that note, you adore music. Would you definitely have been a rock star instead if you could?
No, a DJ, not a rock star, a DJ. So what I would do was, I mean, a rock star would have been nice. I just didn't, not going to happen.
Holding a note, the tone was just a slight problem.
Yeah, was a bit of a problem. Yeah. Even my children, they want me to do these TikTok videos with them, and then I start getting into it, and then my son just stands there and he's like, please just do the moves we've told you. Stop adding the other stuff in. And I'm like, but the drama side of me is coming out here. So I'm not even allowed in TikTok videos. But I used to make people just, and I did it to you too. I punished you with the fact of listening to music, playing in bands, singing songs, making dances. And then I was the DJ, and then you'd have to listen and sing songs, dress up, all of these kind of things. So that was me. I loved the performing side, but I was so dreadfully shy when I was away from my close knit family. I would come alive, and then as soon as you put me out in public, I would like shut down again. Except when I went to high school, then I was okay. But before that, no. My family was my safety net.
And you spoke a bit about that in your recent TED Talk, which is such a huge accomplishment. I don't think there are many South Africans that have been invited to do a TED Talk. I was so incredibly proud watching you do that. And you spoke a bit more about that, about how that journey for you as quite a shy child had to evolve and step out of that and find your space in the world.
And I think that was the nicest lesson of it, that nothing is impossible. And those things that you fight for are so much worthwhile. And I'm going to get back to a very earlier question that you said to me. How do I remain that same person all the time? Like, why do I not change, and suddenly become a different person through everything that I've done and met, and I'm the same to every person I interview, and I don't change from when I was a kid until now? That was because I remember where I come from. And I remember that that's who I am. And I am no one different or more special to who I am or who I was then. I'm that same person, but I've just managed to find my space in this world. And I am so appreciative that I'm able to stand in that space and show off. And that for me is a privilege. That's gee whiz, what a blessing.
You are so inspiring, and we love watching and listening and chatting to you, and thank you for being with me on here.
I love you, my Cher. Thank you so much, and I just wish you the greatest success with this, because it's so nice to just chat to people, hear their stories, and we're all normal. We are all normal, and we're just keeping our space alive. That's all.
Thanks, my Lee.
Thank you, Cher. Cheers.
Bye.